welcome back to the Connected Sphere. Thanks for tuning in. So today we've got Lee Mansfield as a guest. He was on one of the earlier podcasts. So if you want, pop back, check out that episode. It gives you a little bit of context for this episode, but it's a standalone episode. You don't need to kind of follow the narrative of that one, but do check back and check it out. It was a great one. We delved into psychedelic use in ancient times, and yeah, it was a fascinating presentation. So we got Lee back, and yeah, today's going to be a little bit different, and he's got a presentation. So if you are checking it out by audio, then you can absolutely check it out by audio. We'll try and explain the pictures a little bit, but I do really recommend watching the video version on either Spotify or YouTube, because there's so many images that will kind of help explain the narrative of kind of what we're talking about. So yeah, welcome back. How you doing, Lee?
Thank you very much for having me. Yeah, doing okay. Yourself, are you good?
Yeah, good stuff. I'm yeah, summer's in full swing. Tan is coming along nicely. So yeah, it's all good. And yeah, I really enjoyed the podcast before. It was a real good way for me to explore psychedelics in ancient history. And I know you do these talks quite a bit, but yeah, for a lot of the audience, they're exploring it for the first time. So it's a real good way to do that. Yeah. Yeah,
Thank you very
nice.
much.
So yeah, I guess this one, we can kind of carry on where we left off before. I think one thing that sort of seemed to pop up a bit around the end was look at your cat go.
Yeah, there he goes. The tiger.
Yeah, I swear they come along and give you massages sometimes, don't they? That was a
Oh, you
definite massage.
definitely don't want a massage off him.
Yeah, so one theme that kind of seemed to pop up in the last podcast was kind of not just using psychedelics. Um, there's kind of a big craze, not craze, but people use them for lots of ways of healing, you know, sort of dealing with emotional um, things, releasing emotion. So they're really good for that, and that's quite popular in the media at the moment. But I guess there's also this way to kind of follow where the knowledge leads, um, which yeah, I think is a good place to start on this one. Um, do you remember sort of looking back on your journey of when you realized that there was kind of a way to follow what it's kind of showing you, or
Yeah. So, I think I kind of delved into why I got into religion in the first part. I was a bit of a little shit, so got into religion, kind of started doing psychedelics at the same time. They tied together quite well. And it always felt right. I was always kind of going with this feeling of, this feels like I should be doing. Like the first time I was on the search for any sort of psychedelic, the urge to go and find them was like uncontrollable. So I was kind of drawn to them. I always felt. Same with religion. Needed a moral guide. The Bible had always kind of shined at me and always kind of nibbled at me. I'd always kind of wanted to read it, so thought, I'll give that a whirl at the same time, and kind of just started doing them together. Now, basically, I was kind of sometimes a bit scared of doing psychedelics, so I'd always pray before I did them. Just kind of like a bit of a Lord's Prayer, and then asked to be looked after and protected and all that kind of stuff. So I was always kind of getting into them a bit religious anyway, with a bit of prayer and stuff and a bit of meditation and a bit of kind of like help me have a good trip kind of thing. God, please. kind of thing.
Yeah.
Sounds weird, I know, but what I started doing after a couple of years was I'd kind of heard about sort of setting an intention. So I'd heard in a lot of kind of forums, as you say, and like vlogs and stuff like this of people setting intentions before they go into these like trips and stuff like that. So I thought I'll give that a whirl. And I started setting intentions mainly of things that kind of confused me, either in religion or in my life. Mainly just trying to get answers. Sometimes, um, I mean, sometimes, especially with certain psychedelics, they're gonna fix things for you that you can't really control anyway. They're just things that need fixing. You know what I mean? You might delve into some dark places, but it's always going to be the best for you. But after I'd got over them kind of trips, I was more like setting intentions and things I wanted to learn, things I wanted to know, um, things that confused me about life, about, as I say, religion and stuff like that. Sometimes silly things. So I can give you two good examples of how that kind of worked in a religious psychedelic trip. So the first one I'll give you, because I always find this fun. So I think it was winter time when I was doing this. It should have been, but I was very curious as to what Father Christmas was. So I sat about. I did my little psychedelic trip, as it were, and nothing much came on the trip. I had a fun time. Obviously, it was a grand time, and I probably had other things answered on the trip as well.
Yeah.
But I didn't find out directly on the trip what Father Christmas was. So settled down the day after. Normally, I use the week after I've done a psychedelic trip to kind of get absorb it, sort of get it in, like rest a little bit after it and just kind of go through what I've been through, reflect
Yeah,
on it, I
absolutely.
suppose is the best term, reflect on it. Now, as I was reflecting over the week after this specific trip, I was kind of guided to buy a book. And don't ask me why. I am not into. I'm not an electrician. I'm not into science or physics or anything like that. But as I say, I've been studying religion for like 18 years. I've never really touched anything else, really. Nothing academic or barely academic. But I was guided to buy this book here, and I don't know why. It was just so I'll read it. It's The Annals of Electricity, Magnetism, and Chemistry, and Guardian of Experimental Science by William Sturgeon. And I think this is one of the forgotten books kind of
It's
collection.
got a hell of a title.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's a hell of a title.
It's really not. Yeah, I mean, this one's from the Harvard College Library there. So,
Yeah.
and I think, yeah. So anyway, for some reason, I don't even know how I came about this book, um, but I kind of got the feeling, I got the urge to buy kind of like an old 16th, 17th century electricity book. You know, for some reason, I just got the urge to. So I got this book, and it was delivered obviously like about a week later or something like that. And as soon as I got it, I was like, "Oh, brilliant! Let's see if there's any good pictures in there." And I flicked through, and literally the first picture I came to was this picture here. I don't know if you can see it. Can you? So this is a picture of a house.
Move your hands slightly left.
Well,
Yeah, that's it.
we got
Oh, sorry, other way. No, other way.
a bit.
A little bit more the other way. Keep going. Yeah, that's good.
Ah, there we go. All right, so here we go. We've got a picture of a house with a chimney, a rod coming down the chimney, and at the bottom there's basically it's a piece of silk connected to a ball bell, uh, which hits against two bells. Um, one of
Oh,
those
hang
bells
on.
is connected up by a wire.
1 second. I'm just going to pause it a sec. Yeah, sorry about that.
No, no worries. So yeah, we've got a house with a chimney with it's a copper bar going down the chimney. At the end of the copper bar is a hook with a piece of silk that hangs down. Silk's conductive, with a metal ball bell on the end, which slams between two bells. One of them which is hooked up to the same metal rod that comes down the chimney. Now, this experiment itself, I'm not sure if it says on the page, doesn't actually say on the page, but this experiment itself is from Benjamin Franklin Bell. So it's the Franklin Bell experiment from the 1700s.
Yeah.
Now,
Who knew that silk was conductive? That's kind of fascinating in itself. Yeah.
oh, it's lovely, isn't it? Yeah, yeah, absolutely
Yeah.
lovely. But as soon as I saw this, I thought that's Father Chris. That is Father Christmas. That's something going down a chimney. I've got a bow bell. I've got some sleigh bells kind of thing. I thought,
Yeah.
for me, I just got this massive, like kind of light bulb, bing, and that, to be fair, that's about ether technology. So it's kind of the technology that they kind of ridiculed and got rid of in the early 1900s, I think it was. So they did used to have experiments testing it and using it, and I think that's what Saint Nicholas kind of had, which I'm sure will, if we kind of remember these, we'll go on to this a little later as well. So
Yeah,
this ether
absolutely.
technology, electricity kind of coming down from the atmosphere and stuff like that. We'll move on to that a bit later. But that was my first one, which I thought Father Christmas in a book. For some
Yeah,
reason, bought the book, and there was a picture straight away of some chimney and some bells, and I thought it was brilliant.
absolutely. And for anyone that hasn't done psychedelics, that link might seem really tenuous, but when you've done a psychedelic, I've I've talked to a lot of people about this. It's like the month after that big experience, you'll just get these kind of random bits of intuition that it's really hard to explain, but it's not like normal intuition. It's like you can tell that it's in some way linked to the experience.
Yeah,
And
be like the integrating part of the. So again,
yeah,
I think I went on to this in the part one possibly, and there's an excellent lady who comes down to the exhibition called Yuria, who does a talk on it, and it's kind of preparation, experience, and then integration, and that integration is possibly one of the most important parts of the whole thing. So you prepare for your experience, you do your experience, and then you integrate that experience in. And like you say, it can even take months afterwards of doing the experience or having the experience, that you actually absorb that information or that intuition or those little tiny jigsaw pieces you actually manage to put them
yeah,
together.
like it just clicks, like it's a neuron
Yeah,
just clicking into place. Yeah,
yeah. So I've got another
absolutely.
example
Yeah,
of a. So again, for some reason, bought another magnetic current book. Um, so I was doing a trip and I was asking basically, what is the reason that because I'm Christian myself, and I know that a lot of the old churches face east. Just been to them with a compass, and they pretty much all kind of face east, all the old ones anyway. Um, and also I noted that the Hebrews faced east whilst they prayed and stuff. And I thought, what is this whole thing with it's kind of mentioned a lot in a lot of the old religions and old cultures and stuff of facing east, And I think a lot of people say, oh, it's sun worship, it's the rising sun and stuff like this. And so
yeah,
I went into my psychedelic trip. I prayed again, um, and basically, yeah, prayed on, meditated on, like, why do we face east? Tried to figure it out. Couldn't quite figure it out in the trip, you know. But again, in the weeks afterwards, I was guided to buy this book, and this one's Magnetic Current by Edward Leedskalnin, who was, I believe he was a Latvian fella who lived in the 1920s. And he was, if anyone's ever been to Florida, there's a place in Florida called Coral Castle. He's the fellow that built Coral Castle. So I don't know, I think he kind of knew his stuff. But again,
Yeah,
really
I've heard of
small book,
that.
worth a thin book. Yeah, so Coral Castle itself, just
So
to
he
kind of go
comes
onto
up
that a
in
tiny bit.
absolutely, yeah, go into that because it's yeah, if anyone hasn't heard of Coral Castle before, fascinating story.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, he moved there in the 1920s to build a castle for his love that never arrived. Moved from Latvia to Florida. Used stone from, I believe it was miles away, to build a castle. Well, it's more like a theme park kind of thing, with cactuses and a pool and stuff like that. But the blocks that he used are all kind of megaton blocks and stuff like this. There's, I think it's a 13-ton block that you can push, a door that you can push with your hands. Now, allegedly, he built it completely by himself and at night time. There's very few pictures of him actually building the actual place, and the ones that are just a bit strange. The pictures, they have strange kind of equipment, let's say, in them. But yeah,
He built it all at night.
allegedly so. So the
Huh.
stories go. There was a group of children that found him, or like peered over the wall, and he was building it at night time apparently. Um, Now, I think one thing he goes on to in possibly one of his books, I'm not sure if it's this one, but is that the radio. So radio had just come out, obviously, 1920s, around World War One and all that kind of stuff. First radar
Yeah.
systems and radio technology, which wasn't used as much at night time. So it might well be that the radio frequencies had some sort of bearing on how he was actually building this stuff. But yeah, I got basically guided to buy this book. Now, I'm sure we'll probably go into it a tiny bit later um, in the talk about what it means. But if I could just read the first sentence. So, the first
Yeah, go
sentence,
for it.
literally the first sentence of this book, is magnetic current. This writing is lined up so when you read it, you look east, and all the description you will read about magnetic current, it will be just as good for your electricity. So for some reason, this guy is talking about reading this book facing east. Now, I'm not sure why I got this. Obviously, I was kind of guided to get the book, but I'd asked, why do we pray facing east? And what I was guided to get again was another magnetic kind of current book, which I
Yeah,
found really bizarre. But
very bizarre. Yeah.
I have worked this out, and we'll get onto it a bit later. But I thought I'd
Yeah.
just bring those two. I thought I'd bring those two little snippets up of what you can do, sort of with a psychedelic trip, where you kind of follow your intuition. Um, it might be that you're not, or you don't solve anything in the trip. It might be that it comes to you afterwards, and it might be an urge
Yeah.
to do something. Like in my case, it was an urge to buy a book. Sometimes I've visited places and stuff like that. There's loads of weird stuff.
There's so many different kind of versions of that psychedelic intuition as well. Um, one of them that I noticed was that if I was going to have a big experience one weekend, the day before, you would get these kind of insights that then a week after the experience, them insights make sense, but they don't
Yeah.
make sense. They don't make sense at the time, and they don't even make sense a day later, but something clicks, and it's almost, I don't know, it's very hard to describe, and it always sounds like magic when I talk about it, but it's
I know
almost as if
exactly. Yeah,
that experience is in some way outside of time, and we're kind of getting these little snapshots that all build a bigger picture. Um, I've definitely had some interesting ones of those myself. So, however bonkers you might feel about finding certain chapters in books and things like that, I totally get it. Um, yeah, it's very
yeah, I do.
interesting to kind of
I do
follow.
feel a bit. Yeah. But we'll go on to we'll move on to like the slides and whatnot, and then I'll come back to that magnetic current kind of stuff a bit later,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it
yeah,
kind
sure.
of binds in well. It binds in well all this weird stuff that I've learned. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah,
yeah, sounds good. Should we bring up the first slide?
yeah, yeah, if you like.
Yeah, nice. Um,
So the first slide is Vera culture, and I think it's the Inca. So Inca and pre-Inca in Mesoamerica used to worship Vera culture. Now, as we can see in this one, we've got I think it's basically two pictures of the same one. You can move on to the other slide if you want. It's a bit more detailed. Um, so we've
yeah,
got a deity here, worshipped by thousands, allegedly, um, that is holding two serpents. It's got a male snake in its right hand and a female snake in its left hand. We can tell it's a female snake because it's got two little female offspring coming from the top of it. Okay, so the heads are down below, and there's two little offspring coming from the top of the snake on the left of him. Okay,
yeah.
so we've got a
Never noticed that before.
female,
Yeah,
yeah, we've got a
nice.
feminine on the left, and we've got a male or a masculine on the right hand side. Also, I'm just going to point out there's some little tiny snakes at the bottom of him as well. So he's actually stood on a whole bunch of little tiny snakes as well that are carved into the statue. So there's a lot of serpent kind of deity. And this is what, most of the talk is going to be trying to explain is I've seen a lot of people kind of rummage around these serpent deities and these kind of serpents in religion and stuff like that. And I, I've never heard it talked about the way I'm going to talk about it. So fingers crossed, it's going to be a bit fun and a bit new for people. But
Yeah,
yeah, hopefully you'll understand how I
it's
came to this reasoning.
absolutely. And just, I guess, just before we start a little bit, yeah, the fascination with the snakes. Once you start paying attention to snakes at temples around the world and ancient sites, they're everywhere. The iconography for snakes is everywhere, and they're always in quite big places, like prominent places in the temple. So if you haven't noticed that, you'll start to notice it, and it can drive you mad. Like it's driven me mad before, where I'm just like, what's the message? Like, what are they
Mm.
trying to say? It's just everywhere. Yeah. So
Hopefully, I'm gonna have a
I'm looking forward to this one for sure. Yeah.
yeah. Well, hopefully, I'm gonna have a stab at answering that for you. Um,
Nice. Yeah.
but you know
Yeah.
what? That's
Good
actually
stuff.
one thing I must admit that I've left out of the pictures is all of the actual architecture. Because you're right, it is all over kind of Hindu temples. There's temples all over Indonesia that have, serpents all over them. I think Mesoamerica, you've got a lot of pyramids that even have serpents. Sort of Middle America, you've got the serpents coming down the
They go,
pyramids and stuff.
yeah, they usually go up the side of the steps. Alongside the
Yeah,
steps, it's like
yeah,
all the steps in South America to going up to a pyramid. They're like running up the step as if it's, yeah.
yeah. So sorry, I do apologize. I actually completely left all of those pictures out. So, but
No, no,
hopefully,
that's all right.
after
I'm
the
more
talk,
just kind of I'm more just trying to explain the mystery before people think, why are they talking about snakes so much? Because the
yeah,
mystery is big, the mystery is like, um, yeah, everywhere. And
yeah,
I mean, if you listen to the podcast before, which kind of talks about, psychedelics in ancient times, to me, when you start seeing something in all these different cultures, it's not just that they love snakes. Something bigger is always going on. Um, yeah, really important messages usually hidden in. So yeah, I
Mm.
love a theory. And back to the presentation. Yeah, sorry
Let's
about that.
go.
Just wanted
Let's
to.
no, no. Let's do it. So yeah, viriculture. Now I'm just going to keep reiterating this. We've got a female snake on the left, a masculine snake on the right hand side of him, and the serpents, the snakes. Okay.
Yeah,
If you want to move on to slide number 40, well, the next one.
yeah,
So
we got
here we move on to
Quetzalcoatl.
that is Quetzalcoatl from the Aztec religion. So this is the one I think who is actually going down the pyramids and stuff in a lot of or on a lot of those pyramids. And he's basically I think in this picture he's putting a serpent into a jar. So we've got a serpent on the left and it's going into a jar with his right hand, I think, pretty much. So I don't know if that possibly means that he's preserving the serpent or storing it away or keeping it. I don't know, but definitely a serpent in this religion here is definitely worshipped. I think Quetzalcoatl is the serpent deity as well of the
Yeah.
Aztecs. Um,
Two of
so
these, I got a bit of a question here because these two, are they both got that same story of like coming out of the sea and being really wise? Because like Quetzalcoatl has got that story, hasn't he? He's like he appeared, walks out of the sea or something, or appears on a boat
yeah, yeah.
and brings.
Um,
He's like the bringer of knowledge to that civilization.
the sea serpents, they kind of run through a lot of ancient culture and a lot of ancient religion, including Kabbalah. Um, so I'll probably try and move on to it a tiny bit on, but there's definitely allusions to the serpent and water and stuff like this. I think
Yeah.
even in Kundalini as well, we have a serpent that's in a place where you could deem there would be water. So yeah, move on to it a tiny bit later. Quetzalcoatl,
Yep.
next image, we've got the fella wrapped up in the snake again. This is Quetzalcoatl emerging from the snake itself. So this is the man emerging from the snake. Just note here, it's a three-coiled snake, which is very similar to the snake in Kundalini in Hindu, which I'll come on to a bit later. But yeah, got
Yeah.
Quetzalcoatl again in the Aztecs. Again, another serpent deity from another part of the world, completely, well, I'd say probably untouched by the other deity that we've come on to so far. Anyway, um, if you want to slightly move on to the next slide, these first slides we
Yeah.
can go through really fast.
Yeah. No,
Um,
that's fine. Yep.
so now we're on Mercury and his Caduceus. So Mercury is the messenger. He wears the boots with the wings in Greek mythology, and he carries the caduceus, which is it's kind of a rod with two serpents going up the side of it. Where they meet at the top, there's kind of a ball and maybe two wings sticking out of it. It's normally seen on a lot of ambulances and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And for some reason,
Pharmacies and hospitals all around the
that's
world.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a sign for health, really. Which, to be fair, I don't actually associate those places with health myself, but ironic. Um, but yeah, it's a sign for health. But again, we've got the two serpents. In this case, we've got some wings. Um, we do have Mercury himself carrying it in his right hand as well, which all of this will kind of come into, like it'll understand it a bit more a tiny bit later.
Yeah.
So next slide again is just another caduceus carved in stone. It's all over the place, the caduceus.
Yeah.
Again, symbol for loads of places. It's carved everywhere. It's on churches. It's on temples. It's all over the place.
I've weirdly I've weirdly been looking at that in sort of a DNA sense. Um, but then who knows? Like lots of things reoccur in nature, don't they? So whatever they were
yeah,
intended.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. It is almost like a helix on the but it's a bit more
mm,
conical. But yeah, definitely has that helix vibe to it, doesn't it?
yeah. If anyone's listening only, you're missing out. I don't even want to tell you what it is. No. Yeah, we're just talking about the coiled snakes. You get them a lot. Coiled snakes with the thing going through it, and then you've got the wings at the top. You'll have seen it everywhere.
Yeah. Again, a lot of them are on ambulances. I really need to stop saying again. Sorry, it's a bad habit. If you want to move on to the next slide,
Yeah,
we delve into the Celts. So in this one, we've got the one of the Celtic gods holding the two dragons, and I believe underneath the two dragons there is a male and a female, but it's really quite hard to make out in the actual image. Um, but again, we got these two dragons being held by the deity, two serpents. Um, Seems to be important enough to carve and preserve forever. So somebody
yeah.
was, doing something. Seems like really strange art as well to me. If you want to move on to the
It,
next slide, sorry if we're going really, really fast. I will slow down soon. The next one is again Celtic. It's the Aurora Boreas in the right hand and a serpent in his left hand. And he is surrounded by creatures. I think there's a deer and a lion and stuff like that. Um,
the
but
aurora borealis, as in like the thing we get over the top of the world.
so that's the Aurora Borealis. Yeah, that's the northern lights and stuff. The Aurora Boreas is the conjoined snake that eats its own tail.
Oh, okay.
So
Yep.
in a lot of mythology, you have this symbol which is just a snake eating its own tail. Generally a symbol for immortality, eternity, and stuff like that. Now in this picture, he's holding it in his right hand, and he's got the serpent in his left hand. And he does have horns coming out, which I'll be honest, um, going I'm just going to add this in there. Going from past experience, might not be horns, could be a halo kind of thing going on above his head. Just going to throw that in there. Seen a lot of Daffy Duck cartoons and stuff like that, and that looks pretty similar. Um,
There's
but
quite a
yeah, I've
lot of
had some experiences as well with where consciousness comes in and stuff like that would represent maybe some horns and stuff like that.
yeah,
But that's a bit different anyway. Um, we move on to the next one. The next slide, we get the Egyptian Apophis. So this is the serpent and the tree. Now, one thing with Egypt, we do know that I think it was Abraham went over there and actually studied and taught in Egypt and stuff, and a lot of the information from the Hebrews was kind of given and shared with the Egyptians and stuff. Now, this picture does look incredibly like Adam and Eve and the serpent. It's just
yeah,
Adam and Eve buggered off. Um, but
yeah. It
there's
looks
a very
so similar.
there's a very strong similarity there with a, the serpent, the tree, the way the tree's kind of formed as well with the branches is very kind of symbolic. Um, but yeah, snakes are all over. I only put a couple of pictures in from the Egyptian. They're all over. To be fair, I've only put a couple of pictures in from all of these. There are hundreds of pictures of snakes all over Egypt.
Yeah,
All in the hieroglyphs, in the sculpting, in the carving, in the statues, all over the place. So some with sun discs on their head, some without. Some are placed on top of pharaohs' heads. Like in the next slide is one of the snakes from on top, or serpents from on top of the pharaoh's head. So all of the pharaoh's headdresses all had serpents on.
Yeah. Yeah,
Which
it's
I always
fascinating. I
thought
like
myself.
it.
Go on, carry on. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, like when I look back at all the pictures that I've got where I'm traveling or I'm not in the UK, and I look back, I just hadn't. I don't think I'd pay. It was years ago, and I traveled when I was quite young, and I just hadn't been following the iconography enough. But like just looking back now at some of those pictures, absolutely everywhere, and yeah, I wish I'll probably just have to travel again at some point and just see it all with fresh eyes. I know I'd get lost in it now for sure. Um, one thing I don't know if no, I'll chat about it at the end. Yeah, we'll do the
Yeah,
presentation. There's something. Yeah.
yeah, no problem. Right,
So the
so we're on
next
pharaoh's hat.
one.
Yeah, so the
Yeah.
next one we're moving over into India. So thousands of miles away from Egypt. In India, we've got snakes all over the Hindu temples. A lot of the snakes represent these deities, which are called the Naga, which are serpent deities, half serpent, half man, or something like that. They're everywhere, all over the place. Normally have, I'm not sure if it's a bunch of snakes behind them or something like a tree maybe behind them or something like that. If we move on to the next slide, there's another teaching in Hinduism and India that I'd like to touch on, which is called Kundalini. Now, Kundalini is where we start getting a tiny bit of a sense of maybe what these snakes are. Okay, so in Kundalini, we have it's kind of the basic teaching of seven chakra. It's Sanskrit, so if my mind will serve me right, it's Muladhara, Manipura, Svadhisthana, Anahata, Vidishuddhi, Ajna, and then Sahasrara at the top. I think it's something like that. But basically, we've got the seven chakra system, which goes down the middle of the body. And then on the side of these seven chakra system, we've got what's called Ida and Pingala. Now, this is a male and female. I think Ida's the female, I think, and Pingala's the male. So Ida stands on the left, I think, and Pingala on the right, I believe. Might have got that mixed up, but it's basically it's male on the right or masculine on the right and feminine on the left. Always with all of these statues, you'll always see male on the right or masculine on the right, feminine on the left. Now, in Kundalini as well, the teaching, we have what's called the serpent energy, which is basically a serpent that lies in a place called Shushumna or Sushumna at the bottom of this chakra system. So, at the bottom of those seven chakras, you've got a place where basically a serpent energy lies. Now,
Is
and it's
that
normally
is that bottom place a chakra or is below the bottom chakra?
it's below, it's kind of
So
below
it's a
and
separate
around.
thing.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's a bit separate from a chakra itself. It kind of feeds, but either way, it's referred to as the serpent. And in Kundalini, we're actually told that it's a feminine energy. So this serpent at the bottom of this chakra system is a feminine energy. And to the right of this chakra system, we've got the masculine, and to the left of this chakra system, we've got the feminine. So if we move on to the next one, I think is the next one another Kundalini sort of slide, kind of detailing that a bit more clearer for people.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's saying the words of the individual chakras, which I think you got totally right. And you
Awesome.
totally
It's
nailed it.
always
And
good.
then you were like, I think I've got that right. You totally nailed
Good
it.
to know my Sanskrit. Uh, Yeah, so that's basically in Kundalini. There's more of a teaching as to what those serpents are. So in Kundalini, we are actually told that the serpent is a feminine energy. It lies at the bottom of a chakra system, and as I said, to the right is the male, to the left is the female. What we're also taught in Kundalini is that this is, or this is a representation for the human soul. Okay, so what we're looking at with the male on the right and the female on the left, and this kind of system going down the middle, is actually a human body. And these things that are kind of labeled in there are parts of a human soul, basically, or the spirit. Um, so what we're moving on from in these kind of ancient cultures is we're going from serpents into more like energies, and maybe they weren't really deities, like true, like actual material things, holding snakes and stuff like that. Maybe they were actually concepts of God, or concepts of the soul, or concepts of something else. But in Kundalini, we certainly find out that the serpent does not represent a snake. It represents an energy. And in this case, the serpent represents a feminine energy, which is at the bottom of the tree. Now, if we move on to the next slide, we should be on sort of Adam and Eve.
Yeah, stained glass version of Adam and Eve.
So, yeah, so what we've got here is we've got a tree in the middle. We have a male on the right-hand side, and we have a female on the left-hand side, and we have a serpent at the bottom of the tree. And this is exactly like Kundalini, and exactly like all of those other kind of learnings where the female's been on the left and the male's been on the right, and there's a serpent in there. We find exactly the same teaching in Christianity. And we're kind of like, we're given a bit of a guide in Genesis as to what it is, but it's more of a pronounced, like it's a serpent that came down from a tree and they fell from grace, and it was Eve that spoke to the serpent, and then Adam followed, kind of thing. And what we're starting to see here is actually probably a bit of a second teaching as to what Christianity is, and what that actual symbolism of Adam and Eve and the serpent and the tree actually are. Um, so if we move on to the next slide, I think it's just another Adam and Eve slide.
Yeah.
And then the slide after that should be one of Kabbalah. So again, in Christianity, Christianity is Judeo-Christianity, comes from Hebrews and stuff like that. The Hebrews, they learned and taught Kabbalah. Now, I think Kabbalah was orally transmitted long before the Bibles were written, because I believe the first 5 books of the Bible are actually based, or kind of understandable using Kabbalah. So I believe Kabbalah was a tradition before the Bible actually existed written down. And that just a bit of history for you about Kabbalah.
Is this particular image, is that taken from quite an old piece? Is that quite an old piece that's been found, do you think?
Yeah, so there's a couple of books. I think a couple by Charles W. Ledbetter, and a couple more alchemy books. A lot of the alchemists in the Middle Ages studied Kabbalah. It's almost like a religious science. It kind of gives you an explanation for physics, and kind of the birth of the universe, kind of learning and teaching how everything came to be and stuff like that. But also what we've got in Kabbalah. Go on. Sorry, do you have a question?
No, no, it's all right. I was
Okay, yeah.
just
Absorbing.
I've just made it really big on the screen because I think it's a really fascinating image. And for sure, I get why you're skipping through the slides quite quick in a way because it all builds quite well towards this sort of energy system. Um,
Do, yeah.
and
They're all kind of the same thing. So what we're looking at with Kabbalah is we're looking at a system down the middle. Now, if we just kind of ignore that top one, what we've got is 7 central points that go down the middle, just like in Kundalini. The top one we'll call God. We'll call that just out of there for the moment. But down the middle, we've got 7 central points. Now, what Kabbalah does is it splits those. So instead of having 7 actual points going down the middle, it splits 3 of those into a male and female counterpart. So what we're looking at here is on the right side, and the 2 top, they're called Sephiroth in Kabbalah. So all these points are called Sephiroth or Sephira in Kabbalah. So we've got the 2 top
like Final
Sephira.
Fantasy VII.
What's that? Sorry.
Have you played Final Fantasy VII?
Oh, no, I can't. I'm too busy studying all this.
Oh, right. The ultimate bad guy in probably the best game that I've ever played is called Sephiroth. Um,
Ah,
yeah,
oh well, you might find out why. So, what we're looking at is we've got the tree, we've got the 2 top Sephira are male, and the 3 right Sephira, so the Sephira on the right of the body, are also male. And then we're looking at the 3 left Sephira are female, and the 2 bottom Sephira are also female. And what we're told in Kabbalah again is that this is a teaching of the soul. Okay, it's a teaching of the soul, it's a teaching of kind of everything, how everything's made, how everything's formed and stuff. Um, all teachings of a deeper kind of spiritual thing, if you will. But at the bottom here, we should have a Sephira called Malkut. Now, Malkut is the bottom one, it's a female Sephira, and it's surrounded. So when you learn Kabbalah, you learn that it's surrounded by a great dragon, and this great dragon has a queenly presence. Okay, so the great dragon in Kabbalah has a queenly presence, just like the serpent energy in Kundalini also has a feminine presence. They're exactly the same thing. Again, what I will point out is Kabbalah has a tiny bit more structure on kind of the male and female sides of this. It's just a bit more of a tree formed out of the whole thing, which the tree again alludes to Adam and Eve, the tree and the serpent. This is kind of where you're getting this picture from, is kind of the Kabbalah, the spiritual tree of life,
yeah,
and these bigger teachings. Now, what I wanted to go on to, or what I will go on to, is basically how or what all of these serpents are. So, um, basically, I'll start off by just going back to my magnetic current book, because I did say I'd explain that. So I asked God, why do we face east whilst we pray? And he kept sending me these magnetic current books, basically. So what I did, if you want to move on to the next slide, was
yeah,
I basically, and these next pictures are my own drawings, so criticize away. I am an artist, I've got, after all. But yeah, what I did in a really, really literal fashion was I changed the feminine side to a south pole or negative, and I changed the masculine side to a North Pole or positive.
Are we
Okay.
looking at the same image? Hang on 1 second. Oh, okay, yep. So we're on the drawn one, yeah?
Oh yeah. Sorry, the drawn one.
Yep,
So it
yep,
should be like a human body. And we've got all of the Sephiroth, and I've laid them all out where on the human body they actually go. And now what I've done is instead of putting them as male and female, I've put them as negative or south pole and masculine or positive or north pole. Purely just off the guidance and intuition that I was kind of following when I got this book, because I was studying Kabbalah already. So I kind of, I was just poking around, having fun with it. I do put a lot of it down on paper that I'm trying to figure out. So I'll literally just kind of draw it out on paper and try stuff out that way and see what it looks like, if I
yeah,
can't imagine it. So this is what I did. It seems kind of really simple and stuff. But if we move on to the next image, um, and this should be an image of a little man stood kind of on an earth with a magnet beneath him.
yep,
Yeah, brilliant. Right, so on this image, what happens when we do this, when we actually just turn those feminine and masculine into poles, magnetic and electric poles, what happens is when we face east, the feminine or negative or south poles fall to our left, and they basically line up with the north pole of the earth, like entirely. So any electricity that runs through the earth, because the earth's a massive electromagnet, it basically
yeah,
passes from the north pole directly to the south pole and then back over our heads and back to the north pole. Okay, and that's how the field kind of works around the earth. Now, what happens if when we face east is our south pole goes directly in line with the north pole of the earth. So instead of the north pole finding the earth's south pole, first it finds our south pole and it runs up our bare feet, because you need bare feet to do this, our bare feet into your body, and then goes across to your masculine side, the north pole, comes down your foot, and then goes from your north pole then to the south pole of the planet. Then it comes back up because it's coming from a south pole, it's going to go to a north pole first. So if we kind of hold our hands up in a bit of a cross situation, which is where the kind of term bearing the cross comes from in Christianity, if we hold our hands up, it's going to hit our north pole first because our right hand or our right side is completely in line with the south pole of the earth. So what we basically get when we face east is a complete electromagnetic circuit with the earth. Now, not only that, above the earth, go on, sir, have you got a question?
yeah, I guess. Do you need to be anywhere? If you're anywhere on Earth, you'll still complete the circuit in the same way. I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's a really complicated question, but
No, no,
it's
anywhere on earth, if you're facing east, the power that
y-
comes from the North Pole to the South Pole will always hit your South Pole first. It'll always go to a South Pole, the closest South Pole that it can get to as a circuit.
yeah. And then I guess so. Are we talking about the magnetic current going over? So that's like in the air, right? And then you've
Yeah,
got the magnetic current on the floor, touching
yeah,
the floor, right? Yeah,
yeah, yeah. So we've got the
that might explain. I mean, I guess now I see this bit that you're talking about. I can immediately see other religions that pops up in as well. Like there's lots that would make sense. Like the Vikings, the Viking where the snake wraps around the earth.
Yeah, and you've got the tree of Yggdrasil, and all of these. So the tree of Yggdrasil in Norse mythology and stuff like that is very similar again to this serpent, tree, male, female thing going on. Um, all of these things, I think that all of these ancient cultures were poking around with was not only the soul and stuff like this, um, but if you can imagine that a person can, like stand east and capture the, subtle amount of electricity from, the atmosphere kind of thing, then it
Yeah.
kind of it maybe shows why all of the temples and whatnot are faced on like a north, south, east kind of, west kind of facing, and why a lot of those directly face that way, and why a lot of them possibly have metal on top. So a lot of the churches, the old churches in England, they faced, or they used to face east when they were built. Obviously, the magnetic North Pole moves and stuff. But when they were built, they'd face east, and the copper cross on the top of that building would point directly to the North Pole and South Pole. So again, you've got this massive building that is going,
Yeah.
like in some cases, like hundreds of feet up, gigantic copper cross or conductor on top. Some of them have brass and gold on top and stuff like that. Um, all, oh, what's he doing? Sorry, 1 second, 1 second.
He's come over to give you one of those claw massages again
Oh,
that he thinks he loves.
sorry, 1 second. Taking the headphones off.
Cats think we love just being clawed. It's
So big, so big.
he's good at
Yes,
that. Have you got little spikes in your shoulders right now? Just like, just,
yeah, yeah. I
yeah,
wish. Um, yeah, so it kind of shows why a lot of these temples and old buildings and stuff like that possibly faced, east, west, north, south, and stuff like that. Um,
yeah,
what it is showing basically though as well in Christianity, if all these ancient cultures are showing that these snakes are actually south poles and north poles, then it shows that all of these cultures had a knowledge in magnetism in some form, and like atmospheric kind of magnetism and stuff like that. Some of these cultures are, 5,000 years old, and if they are talking about, I mean, yeah, they might just be that they did like snakes, fair enough. I might got this entirely wrong, but if they are talking about what I think they're talking about, it looks to me like they're talking about electromagnetic kind of stuff, science, if
yeah,
you will.
yeah. And it would, I mean, there's a lot of mysteries for
Mm.
sort of electromagnetic world. Um,
Now,
the
just
fact
just
that they never found fires in the pyramids and things like that.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
all
Norse gut.
these deep pyramids, but with no evidence of candles being used, or just yeah,
Yeah,
just very bizarre. Um,
well,
as if
the pyramids themselves are just unbuildable. I've heard.
yeah, I mean that slight detour, but we'll totally get back to this because this is fascinating. But that coral castle um, that guy built kind of becomes used to discredit. Um, you know, of course, people almost to say that the pyramids might have been quite easy. Look, this one man has built Coral Castle on his own. Um, but in a way, yeah, it still shows how impressive it is
Well,
because
they asked him.
it
They
does a
asked him.
totally different thing.
No, they did ask him how he built Coral Castle, and he did say that he knew the secrets of the Egyptians. So I think it is bewildering as to how one man built all of Coral Castle, but nobody
Oh yeah,
knows.
it's a phenomenal
Yeah,
feat.
it is, but nobody knows how many people built the pyramid.
Yeah,
So, we could be looking at a small group of people building the pyramid with the same technology he used, just on a grander scale. Um,
yeah,
it's
that's a good
there's
point,
all
isn't it?
sorts of
Yeah,
yeah, all sorts of crazy stuff with the pyramid and stuff. Um, but yeah, going back to the kind of the magnetic thing. So on that little picture that I did draw, what I've also
yeah,
drawn is the sun and the moon. So we've got the sun and the moon in there. Now the sun and the moon, I don't know if you're aware. So the sun faces us with its ah, south pole, and the moon faces us with its north pole. So, have you ever heard the moon referred to as sort of the feminine moon, the mother moon kind of thing? It's a
yeah,
feminine kind of right. So, because the North Pole faces us, we would get the charge that's returning to the south. So, if we did change this to these poles to masculine and feminine, what we'd get is the North Pole is giving us a feminine charge. Oh, okie dokie. Yeah, so sorry about that. The Yeah, so we've got the sun and the moon. Now the moon faces us with its north pole. So if we were to change these poles into masculine and feminine, we'd have the masculine returning a feminine wave to us. So the moon, I know this sounds like gobbledygook even to me sometimes. The moon gives us a feminine charge, it gives us a negative charge. The sun gives us a positive charge as the sun faces us with its south pole. Okay, so we get these two charges also from the sun and the moon. We get an actual current running through the atmosphere from those as well, that both have the, like effects on the earth and stuff like that.
yeah.
Now, I want to just quickly just touch on the Lord's Prayer, because it was one of the things I actually prayed on, and I like to try and get this across to people whilst I've got the time, if I can. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the English translation of the Aramaic version of the Lord's Prayer. So, the Aramaic is just slightly different at the beginning, and it makes a heck of a lot of difference. So the normal sort of Greek version would be Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth, all that. The Aramaic is slightly different. It starts off Our Mother Father, right? So there's a bit of a translation problem between the Aramaic and the Greek. They don't have a word for father, mother in Greek. So it just comes out as father. Okay, so really, the Lord's Prayer in Christianity, the Aramaic version, starts off our father, mother. So you've always got this father, mother concept.
Yeah.
Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of put it into a literal term, like a literal kind of termination, the Lord's Prayer, just so we kind of understand it a tiny bit better. So we've got our Father, Mother, which are in heaven. So if we look up in heaven, we do have a father, mother kind of type situation going on there. We have the sun and the moon, right?
Yeah.
They're the father and mother in heaven. They're the two energies that we get is positive and negative, or North Pole and South Pole. Okay. So, our Father, Mother, which art in heaven, we get, hallowed be thy name. So, hallowed be thy name is referring to the sound that they make, because all of these objects in the sky, including the earth, make sounds, frequencies, and stuff like that. And
Say
it's
that
the
one again. Hallowed
frequency.
be thy name.
Hallowed be thy name. So, hallowed be thy name is referring to the sound that all of these objects make, the frequency, and the wave that they produce, um, because it's that that is actually doing the stuff. Basically, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. So God is basically of the kingdom of light. All of the light always comes from the east. So his kingdom, thy kingdom, always comes from the east. So we always face east to pray. This is just the Lord's Prayer. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done. So only when we do this will his will be done on heaven as it is on earth. So have you ever heard the alchemical term as above, so below?
Yeah, and I've heard it in other terms as
It
well.
was a movie,
Um,
I think. Yeah, I think
it's
it was
in
even
it's in
made into a
lots of
movie.
things, isn't it? But yeah,
Yeah, so we
I've
have the
got
same
different lots of different
termination here.
versions of that in my head, so I don't know.
Hey, good, good. So our termination here is as in heaven, so shall it be on earth. Okay, and this is an as above, so below kind of reference. And what it's referring to are the poles. Now, Earth has two poles. It has a North Pole and a South Pole. Heaven also has two poles. It has a sun and a moon. And the North Pole faces us and the South Pole faces us. And what it's saying is basically your best time to pray. We say pray whenever, pray at all times, because all of the energies are always good. But a really good time to pray is when all of those objects are in together, kind of thing. Sun, moon, and earth are all together, kind of thing. And then from there, from that, um, as in heaven, so shall it be on earth. Then we move into the prayer, which is give me my daily bread, forgive me my sins, uh, keep me away from, temptation, evil, and all that stuff. So the first part of the prayer is referring to kind of aligning yourself up with the earth or the universe, the solar system, whatever you want to call it, um, with the place, north, south, east, west, and like making sure that the right energies are there and stuff like that. It's just not
Yeah,
really explained
like
that well.
preparing for the prayer. Um, yeah, almost like you might meditate before you pray, or meditate
Yeah,
before a psychedelic
yeah.
experience, kind of getting your energy right.
I
Meaning that
often
it's
take a
a
compass.
guide to get your energy right, just a guide to
Yeah,
balancing the
and getting that
energy,
right
or
current. Well, I suppose facing east, what we're doing is we're shifting energy, natural energy, through our system. So energy blockages and stuff like that that are occurring in our system might be moved out. It might be that maybe when we pray, we remove our sin. Maybe sin is just some weird sort of build-up like an electrical build-up, maybe, and maybe it's naturally removed when we face east to pray. Not sure. I do it, and I probably look all the younger for doing it. But yeah, I'm not sure. I've never scientifically studied the benefits of it. Um, but there we go. That's basically the thing that I
yeah,
wanted to communicate was that when we face east, we basically make an electromagnetic circuit with the universe and everything.
I. It's a great image that you've drawn as well. I've made it really big on the screen, so
Oh,
I
thanks.
think if you're all right with it, all the next
Yeah,
bits
yeah.
of
It
the
was.
slide,
It's
they're
just a
going to
really
be
fast
huge.
one.
Um,
Definitely not a
yeah.
piece of art.
What I'll do, if it's all right, we'll take a quick 5 minute break. For the listener,
Yeah,
it won't feel like a break. We'll just go on to the next slide, but we'll just take a quick 5 minute break.
brilliant. I popped it, Luke.
Yeah, thanks for staying with us. Just took a quick break to do all of the things you need to do to be a human. Okay, so we're on this slide and we're just moving on to the next one. Next one's super interesting. I'm glad I made it bigger.
Yeah. So I've got a couple of things on there. So on the far left, it should be a little man stood there facing east. That is just basically a kind of a picture of the other one, just there again. I'll tell you a little more about these images at the end. Actually, it's a funny story. Next to that, I think I've got a church. So just pointing out that all churches and a lot of temples, ancient temples, a lot of these statues probably as well, all face east, or used to when they were built. Magnetic current slightly changes and stuff, so some of them are slightly off. But yeah, just wanted to point out that some of those buildings may have had maybe some form of electric, as they was dealing with electromagnetic current, or what I believe. And I actually believe a lot of the churches were built kind of in the form of the man. So I think the bell, like representing the throat and stuff, and the chest and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. Hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, the hair on top being represented by, well, the copper cross on top of the actual thing. So our hair, it's my theory as well that hair's kind of almost like a wire that invites this energy in. And that's why it's kind of sacred in a lot of ancient cultures and old religions, pardon myself, as well,
Yeah,
is
there's
because
so
it's
many
actually,
of them where hair is
yeah,
seen as the wisdom thing, isn't it? Like long hair. Um,
that's it.
I, I remember being in Cambodia once and seeing the bus driver. He had the longest eyebrows I've ever seen. It was just like huge. And I asked a local about that. I was like, is that just a style thing? It's like, no, it's a wisdom thing. He's like a wise
Yeah,
person because he's got these long eyebrows. And it looked, yeah, it looked very intense. The most intense eyebrows I've ever seen.
the
Um,
wise
but yeah,
werewolf.
the what?
Yeah, that is the wise werewolf. Yeah, sorry, that's where yeah, that's what I think has. I've actually got a theory as well that that's why women live longer than men, is because women on average don't chop their hair off. Um, and it's something that I'm going to try and test out with my ragdo at the moment. Um, so yeah, I actually, yeah, I think it's a lot to do with health. I think all the ancient cultures kind of knew this about the hair. I think judging by all those ancient statues and ancient symbols of kind of serpents and stuff like this, they all kind of knew stuff about energies. Um, yeah. Next picture is that's basically, I did a drawing of the kind of Franklin Bell experiment, but I just named it Saint Nick's experiment kind of thing. So that's the allusion to Father Christmas. So I believe that chimneys back in the old day, I think a lot of people kind of try and figure out what those big metal things at the bottom of the chimney, the big brass, I think they're called fire dogs at the bottom of the chimneys, old chimneys are. And I think a lot of people will go on to say, oh, fires were never burnt in them. So what they used to do was basically suspend a copper rod in glass up at the top of the chimney. It's called a chimney because it chimes. That should just be a massive giveaway as well. A chimney is for chiming. Um, but yeah, a big copper rod suspended up in the top of the chimney with glass, which is why there's a lot of glazing melted on the backs of chimneys now. This copper rod would come down, it'd be hooked up to a piece of silk with a metallic bauble on the end, which would basically repel away from the same bell, which is hooked up by wire to the same rod. Um, Said that in a weird way, but yeah, it'd be repelled magnetically and it'd start chiming. At this point, you'd kind of know that you'd have some form of subtle energy coming down that rod. And I assume that they had things that they could basically join to the rod. I have seen old pictures of them joining up like radium and stuff like that. But who knows? Who knows? That's like technology back in who knows? No idea. All
Yeah,
gone, all that technology. The last picture is just something I want to poke out there because it never sat right with me. Is the water cycle, um, which I believe is wrong. I believe that the one that we learn in school is entirely wrong. I've never seen water get hot enough that it vaporizes into clouds. Not in England anywhere, and it's always cloudy. So I'd kind of ask anyone to go out and find me a body of water in the north of England that gets hot enough by the heat of the sun that it vaporizes it into clouds. I don't think that's a thing. What I think happens is that water is a liquid crystal, which, it turns into ice. It's a crystal. Water be a liquid crystal. It would absorb the energy from one of the poles, let's say the sun,
Yeah.
because that would be a North Pole energy. And the moon would then levitate or magnetically draw the water up to it, which is why
Because
the
it's
moon.
now more full of electric.
Yeah. So it basically it absorbed the. Let's say the sun is the South Pole, so let's say it absorbs a positive charge from the moon, from the sun. Okay, and then the moon comes out, sun goes away. Oh, pardon me, sorry. And then the moon comes out, sun goes away, and the moon draws up the positive to its negative. It's God, what is it? North Pole. So it'd be pulling down a negative current. It's basically magnetically attracted to it and drawn up. This is how you get dew going up a plant. This is how you get mist, and this is how you get clouds form. And this is why the moon controls the tides and all the waters on the earth, is because not because they're heated up by the sun, but because they're charged by the sun and then drawn towards the moon. Does that
Ah,
one make sense?
yeah.
That's just one I
No, it
stuck
does
in
make
there just for
sense.
fun.
It does make sense. I'm I appreciate a good theory, however wild a theory sounds at first. Um, if you take some time to sit with ideas and just like one of these ideas I've got is that people come up with a theory and then they immediately dismiss it because it's going against the current narrative. Um, but you need to
Yeah,
hold on to it. You need to hold on to these theories. Don't push them away with these tiny experiments that you can do. Just let it resonate for as long as you want, and you'll start to see other things that it connects to. Um, yeah, I could totally see this as being one of those theories that you could ponder on for ages, and there would be other hidden connections that you realize that reinforce it. Um,
yeah, yeah. It's a jigsaw that's built slowly over
yeah,
years of kind of thinking, preparation, thought, reflecting, contemplation, all that kind of stuff. Learning to not think and then learning to understand and stuff like that plays a big part in it. But yeah, that's kind of basically the rundown. That's the information that I wanted to push out there, is that all of these ancient cultures actually knew all of this stuff, and maybe actually today maybe we're not as smart. Maybe it's hidden. Who knows? Probably for a different conversation. Um, but yeah, I'm basically saying that all of the ancient cultures knew about electromagnetic kind of polarization and stuff like that. So yeah,
yeah.
that's where I've gone.
I mean, that's a great presentation. I've loved it, and I love the way um, you're putting yourself outside of the current knowledge base to try and experiment with these ideas. Um,
I'll probably get attacked like completely left, right, and center, but it'll be worth it, I'm sure.
yeah, there'll be people that attack it, but then there'll be, I don't know, there'll be people resonating with it as well. And yeah, I love it. I think it's great. Um, one thing I was thinking about that is like already now I'm sort of holding that idea in and the possibilities of that idea. Um, a lot of stuff makes sense about like why they talk about where some of these really ancient sites are. Um, it would, we're still thinking about it like the connection to the sun, but if you look at it again through this narrative, it makes a lot of sense of why they would be particularly charged places. Um, so yeah, I think an idea like this holds up weight when you
Yeah,
suspend
yeah,
disbelief and sit with it. I think there'll be a lot of things that sort of connect. Um, yeah, yeah. What a hell of a voyage you've got on with this discoveries. Like to
yeah,
to research this
yeah. I
and look
think there's a
back
lot
and
of stuff.
like,
I think a lot of it's been it's been a bit of a religious adventure. There have been psychedelics mixed in with that. That, to be fair, this talk really is a true show of what psychedelics and religion can do together. Because without the two of them together combined, I would have never gotten here in 1,000 years. Yeah, there's some things that you'll learn, like going down that path that are just absolutely, I think, brilliant to hold on, like intuition and stuff like that. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, that's great. Yeah, thanks for that presentation. Absolutely loved it. I've been really excited about having a podcast on that kind of talks about the way people can go on a bit of a discovery journey with psychedelics. Um, I know it's been a big part of my life, and yeah, I think people should hold open curiosity and see where it leads. I know there's kind of safe ways to do that. There's a lot of talk about kind of integration and things like that, which I think safe integration doesn't mean that we can't experiment with knowledge and kind of test new ideas that we get from the psychedelics. Um,
Yeah.
like there's been loads of discoveries in there that like directly come from psychedelics. There's that tale of the guy that found the double helix of do you know about that? He found
No,
he
no, I
was
don't
using
actually.
ayahuasca in the Amazon, and he's the guy that they were looking for the shape of DNA for ages, and they couldn't quite figure it out. And then um, he had an experience with ayahuasca, and it was kind of these intertwining snakes. So whether that's an interpretation um,
Snakes
of
again.
what you talked about, but he's interpreted it like that, and then kind of come out with a double helix shape. So I think scientists are kind of using it more and more, aren't they, to um, explore theory. So I think, yeah, no, it's really, um, yeah, I love the path it's led you down.
Cheers. I think it is kind of, yeah, deeply controlled. Bit of propaganda and stuff like that. And I think it's probably better to kind of remember that we're not at school anymore. I don't know. We're technically grown ups now, I suppose. So yeah, we should be able to kind of lead our own paths and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, I think you're right with the
Yeah,
open curiosity. I think following the curiosity is definitely some good advice. Um, yeah, but yeah, it's
yeah,
been
yeah, for sure.
cheers. It has been fantastic talking about it, getting the information out there.
Yeah, yeah. And if any of the guests want to get in touch with Lee and chat about any of the theories, and if you've got further ideas or anything like that, where can they find you?
Yep. So my email address is lee.mansfield. That's L-E-E.mansfield, Mansfield 87 at outlook.com. And my Instagram is at Lee Mansfield Art. And there will shortly be some art on there. I've been having some problems uploading it, but yeah. send me some questions if you have any, and I'll be happy to try and answer them.
Nice. Yeah, good stuff. And as always, we'll wrap up the show with 3 ideas or 3 suggestions or anything really that can connect the viewer with your ideas. So yeah, what have you come up with?
Yeah. So in this one, obviously because it's been a bit of a strange topsy-turvy one. I think part 1 did start with psychedelics and whatnot, but this one kind of led on to other stuff. So if anyone does want to check out any of that weird kind of magnetism and stuff from the 17th and 16th century, this book's called The Annals of Electricity, Magnetism and Chemistry and Guardian of Experimental Science by William Sturgeon. And there are some cracking sort of diagrams and like passages and texts about old world kind of technology in there and stuff like that. Yeah, so it's a very, very good book. Second one, I do obviously kind of practice religiously, and I do kind of sets of yoga and stuff like that. I'll just kind of recommend this one, Surya Namaskara, the technique of solar vitalization, and this one's by Swami Satyananda Saraswati, and it actually comes in this big series of books here. So they all kind of look like this with the gold banding. And yeah, there's a very good one on Kundalini
Nice.
as well. It's very good.
Is
And
that one
my
kind of
third
linked
one
to?
is oh, sorry, go on.
Oh yeah, no, sorry. Is that kind of linked to one of those slides that was in the presentation about kind of? Does it
Yeah,
mention sort of
so
facing certain ways and
Kundalini.
sort?
So Kundalini, none of these things will teach you to face east. That is just something that I've kind of brushed on in my own kind of learning and stuff like this. These are more learning of the actual kind of theological and philosophical and religious. There's a lot of yoga techniques and breathing techniques and loads of other like mindlessness techniques and stuff like that. Very beneficial. What I kind of found with Kabbalah is there's a lot of kind of theory and stuff like that, but I haven't yet come across any sort of beneficial yoga and sort of breathing techniques and stuff like that. So I think Kundalini is quite handy for your kind of your physical kind of keeping yourself fit, basically. So yeah, these books from this series, all by kind of the same fella, Swami Satyananda Saraswati. They're all very, very good books, worth a read. But the Surya Namaskara is that's kind of my yoga for the day. Yeah, and it is connected
Yeah,
to the
sounds great.
all. So that Kundalini is the whole serpent energy kind of thing that was mentioned before, divine feminine, which, as I say, I kind of theorize as being negative energy and stuff like South Pole energy or whichever. And I suppose the third thing I'm going to recommend is have a try at praying, I suppose. So go outside, find a good lonely space where you're not going to be bothered. Take a compass with you and make sure you're facing east by the compass. Take your shoes off and put your hands up, kind of in the air. Make a bit of a bit of a cross with your body, kind of thing going on. And yeah, just chill it out. If you're into meditation and stuff like that, just meditate facing east. Try it out and see if there's any difference, any benefits, or anything like that. Yeah, and I suppose that's my 3 recommendations for the day.
Yeah, top tips, and I love that one of trying it. I think yeah, being the experimenter in your own life and trying these ideas for sure. Yeah. Is there anything about
Yeah.
have you tried the thing about sleeping facing like having the bed. I know, like in modern houses,
Yeah,
it's
no, no,
it's
no,
never quite right,
absolutely.
or it might not always work.
Um, yeah, the house isn't generally facing like magnetically nowadays, but it is definitely beneficial to sleep that way. I've seen pictures of old beds, so I'm talking like beds from like the 18th and like 17th century that actually have wires that ground them to the earth and stuff. So one thing you can do is sort of ground your bed with a wire, and kind of if you're able to, and then another thing you can do is face it. So I'm going to say with your head facing south. So your feet would be, or the bottom part of you would be a south pole. So if that's facing north, then you've got this again a bit more of a north south thing going on. If your head's facing south. Um, so
Yeah.
yeah, I do actually sleep with my head facing south. So that's why I look so young.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. There's I haven't tried it with my bed yet. I don't even know which way my bed's facing, but I'm going to check it out for sure. I always find
Yeah,
that when I sleep camping, there's something, it feels better just sleeping on the earth.
oh,
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, I think we should be sleeping on the sort of ground level. I think this thing where you're sleeping upstairs is actually probably bad for your health. Yeah, I think earthing the bed and stuff like that is probably going to be very good for you if you can do that. Um, but a lot of
y-
people can't.
yeah,
And I don't want to start telling people to strip the plugs and cables and just plug it into a wall socket with just the earth cable. I don't kind of like any of that stuff. Um, but I suppose you've got as well, you've got a TV aerial in your house as well, so you can always use the TV aerial and a wire if you're very um, clued up about that kind of stuff, because there'll be a subtle amount of energy
yeah.
coming down that's collected by your TV aerial as
If
well.
you know what you're
So,
doing with it,
which you can,
people, don't be
yeah,
electrocuting yourself
oh
trying
yeah,
to have a
yeah,
nap.
yeah, that's it. But you can
But yeah,
use your TV aerial for things like crystal radios and stuff like that. So there is power up there,
yeah,
in the atmosphere, as it were. So yeah, it's all definitely beneficial. All this kind of direction based meditating and like posture and sleeping and stuff like that. Even if you're working, if you're working, try and face your chair maybe east if you have the chance to. Take your shoes off and straighten your back out, kind of thing, and you're basically kind of doing it then. It's just
yeah,
kind of it's a part about trying to keep yourself healthy with the subtle amounts of electricity coming from the earth and the atmosphere, and the actual moon and stuff like that. Yeah, using that as a health system as well as everything else.
yeah. Sound advice. Um, I'm definitely one of those people that goes full on werewolf in the full moon. It's always like, yeah, I'm always either full of energy or I've got zero energy. There's no in between. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say take your shoes off, go out into a garden somewhere, face east by the magnet on a full moon, and just see if you maybe some of that energy might release out of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, give it a go.
I
Experiment, like
quite
you
like
say.
being overly charged on the full moon. I quite like. There's a part of me
Yeah,
that doesn't want to be grounded at
yeah.
that full moon. I quite enjoy it. Yeah.
Oh, really? Yeah, I'd say a lot of the
Nice. Yeah. Good
hospitals and
stuff.
police stations
Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
agree
Yeah.
with you on that one. Yeah,
Oh, they do. Yeah.
um,
Every job that I've
yeah,
had that
but yeah,
involves working with
experiment away.
people, everybody says the same thing.
Yeah, I did some statistics work for a health organization, and I noticed that definitely around the weekends of full moons and stuff like that, you've got a lot more hospital attendances and stuff like that. Yeah, people go a bit wacky. I suppose that's why they're called lunatics, isn't it? I suppose.
Huh. Yeah. I, I hadn't even made that connection. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, yeah. All
Nice.
based on the moon. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, thanks for coming on. You are welcome back anytime. Anytime you've got an idea you want to chat about. Um, um, Thanks for tuning in and listening to the Connected Sphere. Do check out the website. It's got all the ways that you can follow Lee, all the ways that you can follow all the other guests, and there's a bunch of other stuff on there as well. Um, just quickly wanted to wrap up on a bit of a disclaimer. Whenever we're talking about psychedelics on the Connected Sphere, we're always using psychedelics responsibly and in countries where it's legal. Um, and yeah, if anyone is exploring psychedelics for the first time and you're not really sure what you're doing, always get good, solid advice from the sources that you can. So in America, there's a website called firesideproject.org. You can visit them. They've got a whole host of ideas how to use it safely, um, and different advice about psychedelics. In the UK, you've got psychedelicsociety.org.uk. And yeah, always make sure you're getting your advice from reputable sources. Um, However fun it is to get your advice from somebody that's done them once at a festival, always um, seek real knowledge about it. Um, I don't sort of see them as drugs. I see them as like things that we have to be really careful with, and respect them just like you'd respect your mind. So yeah, just be safe out there. And yeah, thanks for checking out the Connected Sphere, and check in with us soon. We'll have a whole bunch of other episodes coming up. So yeah, ciao. Thanks, Lee.
Thank you.